So I got Steven Shakespeare with me today. This is the EricSwannRacing.com podcast, number 51, already over number 50. So it's April 17th, 2021, and I'm just sitting here in my basement. And what's going on with you?
Actually, today, get to have a little bit of fun. I came out to Georgia and able to get a couple of days in at Road Atlanta before the start of the season. And just, you know, I have a love-hate relationship with the track, and didn't qualify here last year. It was the first time I came here, so wanted to make sure that I refamiliarize myself with the track.
Road Atlanta is one of my favorites. I've been there a couple times. I raced there in 2012, 2013, I think 2014, maybe not 2012, I'm not sure. But those span of years in that range. And they used to have gravity cavity there that's no longer existing. They had a separate chicane down the hill after that long back straightaway. It used to be a different configuration, but they changed that, so it's a little safer coming onto that main straightaway. But I hear that was a fun place to ride when it used to be gravity cavity.
I never got the chance, as I say, I never got the chance to ride there. Last year was the first time I'd ever been there, and it's interesting, to say the least. Turn one and 2 and 3 and 4, all that first section of the track really was giving me problems, and just I'd like to say trying to figure it out, not, but we're getting there. We're making small steps, and hopefully by the end of the weekend we'll have everything set up just the way it needs to be.
And for people who don't know,
if I could just keep the front wheel on.
Yeah, it's a lot of power. It's hard to keep that wheelie down.
Yeah, just it's hard, and you know, I was talking to a couple of the other guys that are out here, and may need to just adjust my rear brake lever up so it's easier to get full pressure on the brake as you're going through the turn, and keep that front wheel nailed to the ground, losing a lot of time as the traction control's keeping it in from when it's lifting up to stop me 12 o'clock.
So what do you think your ideal wheelie height is? Is there an optimal range? And I'm sure you don't have any wheelie control on your bike.
No, it does. It has wheelie control. Again, optimal range would just be hovering a few inches above the ground. Anything more than that, and you're just losing a ton of time and a ton of power.
See, for people who don't know, they always think drifting and wheelies are the coolest thing because they look cool, but they don't actually make you go fast. Right.
I mean, no, by all means, I'm terrible at wheeling, apart from when getting on the power, apparently. But yeah, they're fun for, you know, showing off and stunting and exhibitions. But as far as in a racetrack, drifting the bike around, I mean, backing it into a corner is one thing. Drift, you know, just drifting, you're just losing time and losing power.
And can you explain backing it in for people who don't know?
Not really. So when you'll see when you hit the corner, when you're going into a turn, you're hard on the front brake, and you're pushing the bike out through the turn, leaning over, and the back wheel gets really light and start to skip and push as you get back on the power out of the into the turn. It looks very, very cool, and you know, usually when somebody does that in front of me, it costs me about 3 seconds a lap because my jaw just hits the floor or hits my tank as I'm going around, and I'm like, wow, that was really cool. Oh, oops, I need to get back going.
And that's a combination of, you know, engine braking, rear brake, and front brake control.
Yeah.
And you know, modulating the clutch even, or blipping the throttle if you need to.
Correct. Yes. And again, it's something that those really skilled guys do, and the rest of us just aim to do that one day, maybe one time.
And so, but you're a pretty accomplished rider. You've been racing in Moto America professional road racing now, and tell me about your experience with that.
Yeah, I've been doing that now for 3 years. We started off 3 years ago. We're in the twins class, and we fielded a Ducati 797 Monster. It was a great bike. It was super built. I think the hardest part for me was getting used to the tracks, and it was a bike that I'd never ridden before, but it seemed to be the entry class to go in for somebody of my age to be able to race Moto America. And then we got to Utah, and I had my 1,000 with me. I'm like, is there anything stopping me from racing both bikes? And they said no. So I started racing the R1, which is a bike that I feel I'm a lot more comfortable on. And it transitioned from there. I was doing better on the R1 than on the twin. I felt more comfortable. And so at the end of the first year, I decided that we weren't going to campaign the twin, especially with COVID and everything last year. And we just focused on doing on the stock 1000. And, the great thing doing it 2 or 3 years is you get a good opportunity to ride on those tracks that you don't usually see. The club racing here in Texas, and we have tracks, 4 tracks, New Orleans, Hallett, Houston, and Crescent, and that's it. So you don't get a large variety. And the majority of those tracks that we do race with Moto America, I haven't seen in, I haven't been to any of them. So it was fun getting to race and being able to qualify, and then getting those bucket list items to see those tracks that you usually don't see, and traveling across the country and finding different areas and everything else. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and being a full season entry, you get to be at a lot of different venues and learn the tracks like you're saying. So I'm sure that's very valuable for learning, your knowledge base, your riding skill, all of that.
Yeah, what really helps is riding with these guys that are so much better. I can't remember where it was. I think I was at Pittsburgh, and we're coming into the last couple of laps on the practice session, and Stefano Mesa just went by me and tapped his tail and gave me a tow around the track. I mean, that's the caliber of people that you're dealing with. Everybody's wants to see everybody do better. Obviously, everybody has a very competitive spirit, but there's a massive amount of camaraderie in the paddock, and that's what makes it so much fun.
Why do you think it's different than other sports? Because you don't get that in soccer or football or hockey that I've seen. I mean, your teammates will help you, but your competitors won't.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up playing football, soccer, and rugby. Yeah, it's I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that it's a team sport. So your camaraderie stays within your team, and it's us against the wall kind of thing. Whereas what we're doing here on motorcycles, number one, it's extremely dangerous. So the amount of respect that each person gains for anybody else that's out there on the track is unparalleled. And number two, I just think that the type of person and the personality that it takes to do this, and the money that it takes to be able to do this. Everybody knows that it's not easy. So everybody's a lot more willing. Everybody's willing to help because most people have seen it where their back's been up against the wall.
They understand what the amount of cost and time involvement is. It's not something you can just do willy-nilly and just say, oh yeah, I'm going to start racing and just do it tomorrow. It's not how it works.
I thought that's how it was going to be when I started racing in 2015. I was like, just go out and buy a bike. So I went out and bought a bike, and it was like a buddy of mine turned around to me and said, in about 3 years, you're going to have multiple bikes. You'll have a truck. You'll have a trailer. At that time, I was pulling around my R1 on a Challenger. I had a little one bike trailer, and I had a Dodge Challenger, and the bike was being pulled behind on that. And he said, within 3 years, and he wasn't wrong. I've got 2 trailers. I've got several bikes, and I have a 350 dually, which I never thought I'd.
That's how I started.
I
I started towing with a Pontiac Sunfire. I mean, it can be done. You don't need to have a truck, but it definitely helps.
Yeah, it does. And as doing track days and things like that, and just enjoying your bike is one. I think once you start racing, you can do it that way. But there's so much that goes on a race weekend, so much more than on a track day. Everything's go, go, go. And you want to have things that are, you want to have the convenience of being able to have, parts in the trailer if anything goes wrong, tools, canopies, and just be able to haul everything and just be, one of the biggest parts about what I found helped me with racing was just being relaxed. And being relaxed at the track. It's very difficult to do that. It's not so bad as say with a track day because nobody wins. I win a bottle of water at the end of the track day, but for the actual race, it's the race itself and the races, I want that comfort level and to be relaxed and to know that I have everything at my fingertips. So you kind of want to take your shop, as it were, with you.
It's like a mobile garage, kind of, so to speak.
Oh yeah, tires, wheels. I look around this one and just we've got everything's in it is ready for us to just pull the bikes out and be able to adjust and fix if necessary. Touch wood, we don't have to fix it.
So you're in your race trailer right now?
This is my buddy's race trailer. He's I work in Phoenix and Scottsdale, and I just flew out, and he's kindly brought my bike out for me.
Okay. So what kind of trailer do you have? What's your setup look like?
The team, which is run by Monkey Moto North Texas Superbike, we just acquired a new 40-foot gooseneck trailer. It's aluminium. I mean, and it literally has absolutely everything in it. There's sleeping quarters, tools, space. You can put 6-7 bikes in there if need be. All the stuff that we need for the races, canopies, and I mean, it's decked out very, very nicely.
That's awesome to have. It's so valuable to have those accommodations. I was reading an article online a couple of days ago about I think it was a McLaren F1 hospitality motorhome. Have you heard about this? It takes them 17 semi trucks to deliver and compose this one motorhome. And they said, we're going to reduce it. We're going to, downsize our footprint, and it's only going to take us 8 or 9 trucks now. I'm like, well, I guess that's better.
8 or 9 semis. I mean,
8 or 9 full semi truckloads of material.
I think that's the big difference. Formula One and the amount of expenditure that they have, the amount of money that's associated with it, is insane. What we do pales by comparison, but you look at some of the bigger teams in Moto America, Yamaha, the Suzukis of the Hammer Racing and everything. I mean, they've all got semis and show up, and they have an extremely large footprint for Moto America. And what we've seen over the last 3 years since I've been racing Moto America, what I've seen is that the television audiences and the participation has not wavered. It's in fact grown tenfold. And so I think that's a good thing, because I think we went through a stage with American road racing where it got a little stagnant, it got a little stale, and it's nice to see it coming back to the forefront.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm hoping to help that out with
creating a podcast like this, and I'm helping by selling products to riders through my website. So I'm trying to contribute, and I spend a lot of my money on racing myself. So I definitely I'm into the sport, as you can tell. So
Okay.
so yeah, I'm not racing motorsports right now. I raced for about 5 years, but I'm just trying to save my money, and I'm getting into a 50cc soon for some training. I think maybe a 150cc dirt bike for some dirt training, and then in a couple of years probably get back into some track days, and then I think I want to do the Wear National Series and maybe the Wear Endurance.
And that endurance series are always fun because you get a lot of seat time for not a whole hell of a lot of money, and you get to share it and enjoy it with with friends. It really is the endurance series are really a lot of fun. I try and do as many of those as I can. Last year, the year before, we always ran endurance team. This year, having moved out of Texas, it's kind of hard for me to run in that series. And trying to focus on just this Moto America for this year.
So I wanted to ask you. You said that you were going to Road Atlanta for a track day beforehand. Is it true Moto America lifted their testing ban so you can ride at any track at any time now?
It's not any time. I believe you can't ride at the track a week before. It's more, I think the stipulations are even a little bit more stringent for the anyone in the top 10. But as far as riding at the track, they lifted it. I think it's a week before, unless it's actually a race event.
Okay. Do you think that's a beneficial thing?
I think so. It definitely helps out the guys that aren't the fastest and need that just that little bit of extra time to even qualify. For example, last year we came here. I'd never been here before. The weather wasn't 100% great, and I definitely didn't know this track. And there's a lot of blind turns on this track. So if you don't know where you're going, it's a little frightening, to say the least. But I have to get my bike here, my team here. I have to get myself here and everything else and set up. And you have 3 sessions to be able to qualify, and you have to qualify within 110% of the fastest guy in any session.
And the fastest guy is usually bouncing off the lap record.
Right. Cam Peterson wasn't exactly a slow coach.
Oh, and so you actually have to qualify. Is it against the top guy in Superbike, or is it the top guy in Stock 1000?
So it's against the top guy in Stock 1000. So you have to be 110% of the top guy in any session in Stock 1000. If you want to race in the Superbike Cup, you have to qualify 108% of the fastest guy in the Superbike in a Superbike qualifying session.
So it's even tighter for the Superbikes.
Yeah, it is. So again, that really helps because it's not cheap to come out here. Obviously, bring everything out here, bring everybody out here, tires, fuel, food, the whole 9 yards. So if you've never been to the track before, you only get you get qualifying 1, which is your first session, qualifying 2, which is your second session, and then you get a makeup. There's qualifying 3, which is basically a practice, but they will allow you your time if you've hit it by then. But if you've never seen the track before, it can become rather daunting. And again, last year we came here, we didn't qualify, we had to pack up and go home. Everybody still gets paid, and it still costs that amount of money, but so it's very disappointing. So I think for the guys that I wouldn't say struggle to qualify, but it gives them an opportunity to at least be a little bit more competitive and at least be able to come out and figure things out, get some things. You're not threatening to win the race at that point, although in the back of your mind you're like, if only
it's
maybe
possible
you can win. It's possible. Not anything's possible, but it's just I I think it's beneficial for that reason. It gives, it kind of evens the playing field. If you don't race Wera, you've never raced here, and you're not racing on this part of the country, but you're traveling across the country to, and they allow that. I think it actually opens up the door for people that, maybe considering doing it and haven't, because they're like, well, I'm not going to qualify because I've never been to that track. So at least this way they have the opportunity to come see the track a little bit before, and then go ahead and see where they fare when it comes, where they fare in their practice sessions, and see if they're close to being able to qualify.
Absolutely. This brings to mind the concept or the idea of simulator racing, sim racing, where it might not be a motorcycle that you're driving, but for me, I've since I've taken a step back from motorsports, I bought a sim rig in my living room that I have hooked up to my PlayStation 4, and my buddy's got one hooked up to his computer that he uses iRacing and some other games that you can purchase tracks like Road Atlanta and the local tracks, and actually drive them with a car, with a lot of different cars to choose from, whether it's a Formula or a GT3, GT2, and so on. So you can learn the tracks before you even get there. Do you do anything like that at this moment?
Yeah, I have an Xbox. I wouldn't say I have a simulator rig. A good friend of mine does. He's all into that. In fact, he got so into it that he got so hooked that instead of buying any more upgrades for his simulator, he just went out and bought a race car. I was like, okay, but he, in answer to your question, yeah, I tried to use some of the games that have these local tracks. Ride 3 has a bunch of the tracks that we race on. I think Ride 3 or Ride 4. I can't remember which one it is. It's the newest version, and they have a ton of the tracks that we race on. So to get familiarized with the tracks, yeah, we definitely turn the Xbox on and try to get an idea of where the track's going to go. It was funny. I spent when we went to Indy last year, I spent a bunch of time. I downloaded all the track maps and downloaded the video and was listening to the guys, and they're talking, and we get to the track, and I look at the track and I see the first session out, and I'm like, great. They're all going in the opposite direction that I was studying.
Yeah, they flipped it, didn't they? They flipped it one of those years.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, we'll just learn it as we go. But the more studying that you can do, the more familiarization that you can get with the track is definitely beneficial. Which is, the fact that they pretty much lifted the embargo on being able to come to the tracks is really helpful for me anyway.
For sure. And do you think that race organizations, maybe club racing like Wera or CCS, should be going to bigger tracks like Indy or Coda? And what is it, a cost thing that they don't, or it seems like such a waste of the best track in the country to not use it?
It's definitely a cost thing. Going to Circuit of the Americas, even if you get a deal with them, it's still running $35, $40, maybe even $50,000 a day. When you think about a club event, they're usually held over 3 days, at least the ones that I've been associated. CMRA is always 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and they're in Texas. So, being able to, and the problem is, when it comes to club racing, if the weather's great and everything, that's wonderful. But at the hint of rain, all of a sudden, everybody you've got people that start backing out. You'll have your dedicated, diehard racers that don't care. But it's definitely not cost effective. Maybe if a couple of the organizations linked up together and did a championship series, kind of like they do at, the GNF at Barber,
Yeah,
that Wera does. maybe if several organizations got together and could put it on, it might be cost effective to do. If not, maybe doesn't make money, but maybe I think it would be fun if they could even just break even. At the end of the day, riding that track is definitely fun. And another thing is, with somewhere like Circuit of the Americas, they're not too happy about letting people camp out there in the parking lots, or having a race organization come out there and stay out there. They're okay with track days organizations that might do it for a day or two, but to field a race event, I just don't think that they're that welcoming, because of participation rates are not as high as they would be, say, for a track day. It's a bucket list at the end of the day. Then the race organization has to decide whether it's going to up its prices to race at those tracks.
And then they're going to have to maybe eat the cost to get that going.
Right.
So it sounds like a lot of hurdles.
There's a lot of hurdles. I mean, maybe if Circuit of the Americas will come and talk to the race organizations, and maybe be beneficial for both parties, get a lot more use out of the track.
Yeah, create a new like a Grand National final between the CCS and Ware, combined a national combined.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could do it.
national.
You could do it with CCS. You could have I mean, when they run a track day for Coda, 316 track days, you've got people coming from all over the country to go ride there. They're bringing their bikes in, so nothing's stopping you from having CMRA, CCS, WERA, the one that's in Arizona, the
West
Aurora
Coast.
Seiko, the ASRA, maybe the Chuck Waller series, all of those groups, and just combine and have a national final. You have to have a certain amount of points to be not even you just had to have competed in one of their events. And I mean, that would open it up. The track's big enough to have a lot of bikes on the track, and I think that way it would pay for itself.
You have like 40, 50 bike grids. That'd be awesome.
I don't know what the safety measure would be, but I mean, they could definitely do something.
I mean,
I don't
you've
know
seen
what, I
like
don't know
40
what the
bike grids
participation.
at Daytona some years, right?
Oh yeah, no, I mean it can definitely happen. It can definitely happen, and if they run a series of of qualifying before you have the race, it could be I think it would be very beneficial. Again, Moto America is kind of the same thing. You have riders from all over the country coming to compete in that series, and we get to ride on some of the best tracks in the world. I particularly prefer. I'm not a big fan of Coda. I think it's a much better car track than it is a motorcycle track. Barber, Laguna Seca, here Road Atlanta, Road America. I mean, all the tracks that we ride, I think, have characteristics that are far better than the Formula One track.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of super tight hairpin turns that aren't, I guess, motorcycle friendly, but you can do it. It's just difficult.
Oh yeah, I mean, you just have to look at Marquez or
Right. For sure.
they're running around there in 2 minutes.
What do you think about a pro-am event, like a Moto America with an amateur component at the same round?
I believe that I think they've tried that. I wasn't at that. I do remember seeing that they used to run a WERA round with the Moto America round. The problem is time. When you're in the club racing scene, you want 8-lap race, you want sprints, you want to get bang for your buck, as it were. And you see, when you come to the Moto America, over a 3-day period, we'll ride. If we have 2 races that weekend, we'll get 3 practices or 2 qualifying, a practice, a warm up, and then 2 races.
Goes by
So,
quick.
you know, how do you fit in all the other classes, the 300 class, you know, the 400 class, 600s, lightweights, ultra light, etc., twins, you know, what have you. The, you know, usually when you go to a club race event, they have 20 or so races on the week, on the Sunday, and either an endurance race or, you know, 6 or 7 sprint races and an endurance race on the Saturday, or if they're not doing any endurance, you know, they'll have 15 races a day. Well, with the qualifying and everything from Motor America, there's no way that they can run it at the same time as a club event.
There's too many classes going on. Yeah, it's like you almost need separate weekends, and that's why they do it that way.
Right.
For sure.
I guess that's, you know.
So is there anything
I was interested.
Go ahead, yeah.
No, I was interested when I was filling out the form about the interview, Eric. It was like, it was asking what was I prepared to talk about, and like it was motorbike racing and everything else. But I saw that on there that you also had trading, and I was like, well, okay, well, we'll get on. I'm going to ask him about that, because that's, you know, I work for a company that sells gold for IRAs, and we provide people gold for their IRAs, convert IRAs over to a precious metals backed system. So, and before I did that, I traded foreign exchange and commodities. So I'm just interested why you had that on there. Was that, or is that questions that pops up?
Yeah, I always have questions on there looking to see what you wanted to talk about, so we can get anything off of your chest. So yeah. So you're a trader?
I dabble. I dabble a little. I used to be an interbank broker dealer in the UK. I worked in Italy for a few years. Basically, was an intermediary between banks and trade derivatives, and then I traded commodities for several years, and then I got into working for the gold company and providing gold for retail clients, and now we've opened up this IRA division. But I just wondered, what are your thoughts on precious metals and the state of the economy and Bitcoin and everything?
You know, I think that precious metals are pretty interesting because you see that they hold their value pretty well. They don't tend to fluctuate a crazy amount. Now, some commodities do. It depends what you get into. I think lately cryptocurrency has been going crazy. The Dogecoin, everybody's talking about it. I even saw it in my news feed today on like a real news channel. So like it's picking up a lot of steam. I think that could be the next big thing. You know, I still have a day job. Like just like everybody else, I work a normal job, and we work with aluminum. We do aluminum blanking. So we stamp for different automotive applications, and aluminum is huge right now because all of the manufacturers want to reduce weight on their cars because it reduces your gas mileage. It's just a lighter vehicle altogether, and it's replacing all the steel components that used to be in cars. So I think it's an important industry.
Do you think that that's going to be replaced with, you know, when you look at the modern day sports car and now even the modern day motorcycle, a lot of the aluminium is being replaced by carbon fiber?
You know, it definitely will be in certain applications, but carbon fiber is so expensive, it won't be on the standard daily driver because it's cost prohibitive. It's way too much for the regular car, but for racing applications, sure, all day, it's way better. It's just how much do you want to spend?
That's the old adage, right?
How fast do you want to go? How much you got?
How fast do you want to go? How much do you got? Yep, I agree with that wholeheartedly. It's difficult.
So did you come from a racing family?
No. In fact, my parents look at me as if I'm absolutely crazy. I started. I've always had that competitive spirit. Whenever I got behind the wheel of a car from 16, from the moment I started driving, I'm just have a heavy foot, bat out of hell. Then I started, riding motorcycles in about 99, same thing. How I didn't get more speeding tickets or even my license taken away, I have absolutely no idea. And then it just progressed. I guess it just progressed. Always had that thrill with speed, but never really got into it. And with it, I think I had some complications with my health, and family were by the bedside, and it was very. And it was very touch and go for a second. And with their help, I was able to recover. And the first thing I said when I got better was, I'm going to do a track day. And that was it. I literally got the bug. I've been riding for 16 years, never taken a bike on the track. And my first track day actually was at Coda.
Okay, awesome.
And it just went from there to where it is right now, which
So how long did it take you to go from doing track days to your first race event?
I started in the middle of 2015, and when I started, I was like, oh, one day I might be able to get to the advanced group. It's probably going to take me 3 years, and I'll be in the advanced group. That's what I was saying to myself. And I think by fourth or fifth track day, it was apparent that I could keep up with the people that were in the advanced group. And at the end of that year, I decided that, okay, well, we're not getting any younger, so we're going to go racing. And
Just
so
rip off the Band-Aid?
Just rip it off. I mean, it was literally it took me 6 months. I thought it was going to take me 3 years. It took me 6 months. And obviously, that's where all the notoriety comes from.
And you've been riding for 16 years, you said, before you even got to the track. So you knew how to ride a bike. It's a little different riding on the street versus racing around a racetrack.
Yeah, it is. You have to, there's a lot to learn. And I have to keep telling myself, if you were on the street, you wouldn't let this guy pass you.
Hey, right?
But it is. There's different etiquette. And it's about, more than anything, it's about being safe. But you saw the video, right?
Which one?
Like the one that of me in the mock race.
Oh, is that where you looped it?
Yeah.
I'm sure it's happened to a lot of people. It's not ideal though.
Just never caught on camera to
Right.
be there, and I went. It was so fun. We were at Indy, and they started playing it. Robbie put it up there. He's like, look at this, and I'm like, oh my god! It was up on every single big screen. And I'm like, okay, it went viral the first time it happened back in 2015, and now you put it up there again.
You had to relive that moment. What was that like?
Just sheer announcement. It was what had happened was, being a typical male, I didn't read the instruction manual and figured out, look, this bike is extremely advanced. So if I have it clicked in there and it says launch control, it knows that the bike is standing still. All I do is I flick the throttle and then gently let out the clutch. Wrong.
You can't just have it pinned and let out and dump the clutch.
But it wasn't a dump. I was trying to let it out nice and slowly. there's a button that you have to press that actually engages launch control, which I didn't read on that was what was required. So yeah, all I got was bouncing off the rev limiter, and then 2 seconds later I'm sitting on my backside with the bike up in the air. So yeah, it was really
it's a learning moment.
It was a learning moment, let's put it like that. The instructor of the CMRA school came up to me and said, "There is definitely something wrong with you."
Well, you know, some people learn the easy way, some people learn the hard way. I've always been one to learn the hard way a lot of the time. Sometimes you just have to go through it yourself. Somebody can tell you all day long, but sometimes you just got to do it yourself to learn from certain things.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely, I wouldn't say, you know, it was hard. It was definitely a learning experience, and it was very, very humbling. But at the same time, everybody's seen the video, so it's kind of good on that part.
Yeah.
It's always a conversation piece. It gives everybody a little bit of a laugh. They're like, "Oh my God."
Yeah, it's I've seen it happen a couple times. It's never good, but usually the good thing is the bike doesn't hit the rider most of the time.
Well, that's what I mean, my reaction time was on point. That light went and the bike was gone. I mean, there were people in front of me. Had they have moved, they would have been fine.
So do you enjoy, or do you prefer to have the lights for a start, or do you rather have the flags as a start?
I prefer the lights. I like the lights.
Yeah, it's more even, you think?
Yeah, and it gives me something. It gives something to focus. When someone's holding a flag and it's like, okay, when, you know, is that moving? Is it not moving? It's so much easier. When the light goes out, you go. It's definitely easier.
And have you ever, aside from the stunt you pulled, have you ever jumped a start?
Yes. Yeah, we were at a race, and several people decided that it was taking long for the starter to turn out the lights, and we all went.
Oh yeah, usually if one person goes, it's like a domino effect.
One person goes, it's like a domino effect. They just, all they did was they red flagged the race, restarted, and we restarted it. It was a lap short. But I mean, it's happened. Try not to. Usually, you know, try to get pretty decent starts and become pretty consistent with that procedure. So I think in my racing career, apart from that one when they made us restart, I've only ever been penalized one other time, and it was just, you know, I thought the light was gone, it started moving, and once the bike started moving, it's like, well, I'm going to get docked however many seconds. You might as well go for it at this point.
Sure. And there's a new track on the schedule this year, Brainerd, out in Minnesota, right?
Yes.
You been to that one yet?
Yeah, I have never been there.
I don't think many people have. I think the last time was like 16 years ago, maybe.
I've heard a lot about this track, and I'm hoping to be able to get out there and maybe see it one time, maybe two times before we actually race. But again, trying to juggle work and a racing schedule, like I have to take it off to my colleagues back in Phoenix because they're having to work today, and you know I'm fortunate enough that they're strong enough to be able to hold the fort down while I'm not there. So you know I have to say kudos to them for giving me the opportunity to come do this. But juggling a career and a race schedule becomes very hectic.
Oh, I can imagine. And would you consider yourself a factory or a privateer rider?
Oh, definitely a privateer rider.
Are there any factory riders in Moto America?
Yeah, you've got the Yamaha. Obviously, there's Josh Heron, and Jake Gagne, and then you've got Cam Peterson and Bobby Fong on Suzuki. The Honos have one. Warhorse, Ducati have one. I mean, they're pretty much the factory teams, and then everything else is kind of privateer. I mean, there's some big privateer teams. You know, if you look at Anthony Ward, and you know, he travels around, I think, in 2 semis.
Oh wow!
And you know, he has an amazing setup.
You got Dave Anthony, who's been doing it for years.
That's what I meant. Sorry, I was thinking Dave Anthony, not Anthony Ward. Bradley Ward was driving one of his semis. That's why. So I just mixed the two up. Yeah, Dave Anthony. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I didn't know. I was like, I didn't know he had semis.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that's it's pretty cool to you see the progression and all the different guys out there figuring out a way to get to the track. I hope I can get out there soon myself and have some fun out there again.
I know, you know, there are people that manage to do it. They come out on. You've got to take your hat off to them because they come out, you know, with family members. They'll just be in a van. They'll set up the tent. They'll live out of the van for the weekend, and then they, you know, throw everything back in and go home. You know, that really is commitment. Just a love of racing to get out there and show what you can do, even when, you know, you don't have the support of the big teams.
It's commendable for sure. And so, is there anything on your mind you wanted to talk about today?
I think you've covered everything, Eric. It's been phenomenal getting to talk to you. I'm gonna head back out to the track and try and get these last sessions in.
Okay. Well, I won't keep you if you wanna get going, but I was gonna try to go for another 13 minutes, but it's up to you.
Oh, we can. I don't have to be back out there until 2:30, so I've got 13 minutes for you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll just try to keep it going here. We got a good flow. I was just watching some MotoGP qualifying, Moto2, Moto3 this morning.
Don't.
No spoilers. I won't say it, but it's an action-packed event and it's exciting. I can't wait for the race tomorrow.
Are they allowing any spectators out there, or is it?
No, I don't think there's any fans at all. And even I'm in Michigan, just north of Detroit. And they extended the stay-at-home orders and the mask mandate for another, I think, month and a half till I think it's May 24th. So it keeps on going.
I'm not going to say anything political. I just don't. I really don't think there's been that big of difference between the states that have have done away with the mask mandates and have allowed the state to open up, and those that haven't. It's stayed pretty consistent.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, it's 6 to 1, half dozen the other, and if it makes you feel, you know, if you feel safer, then, you know, wear a mask and, you know, just be respectful of those people that are around you.
For sure. I think the biggest thing is just be respectful. It's just people are so on edge nowadays.
Yeah, I know. Can you imagine? It's horrible if you cough or sneeze, people.
You know, I remember the start of the pandemic. I just went to the bar near my house and I had some spicy Mexican food. And, you know, anytime I have really spicy hot food, it makes your nose run. And so I was starting to cough a little bit, and the guy next to me was like looking at me like this and backing away. I was like, relax, it's the food I'm eating, you know. He's like, well, how do I know, you know?
How do I know? It's like you're carrying a hand grenade, or you're about to self-detonate. Here I am. No, it's fine. It's just a little tickle in my throat. I promise you, it's not.
Yeah, for sure. So, I think I might have lost your video there. Are you still there? There you go.
No, it just warned me that I have my batteries at 20%.
Okay, yeah. So it'll probably still take me a week or two to edit and post this video. I think I have 3 or 4 in the queue. And then, but when I do, make sure you tag and share this with everybody that we talked about. Are there any?
Oh, absolutely.
Are there any crew members you want to give some shout outs to? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't do it you definitely couldn't do it without you know, the full support of my family. They're just absolutely phenomenal. The amount of support that they give me, friends around the country, and the support that they give me. David Roy from AGV Sport and Monkey Moto, Nelson Gatto, his mechanic. Then obviously all of our sponsors, Valor Farm in up in Texas. They are a horse racing farm, but they have helped these Iron ponies for the last 3 years. So we really appreciate their involvement and them helping. Dunlop, obviously, for the sticky tires. Carbonin and Hustle Hard Racing for providing the bodywork this year. AGV Sports for our leathers. Blood Lubricants for the oil and keeping the bikes running smoothly. Evol Technologies. Steve's a master and really does some amazing work, and all the parts on the bike look phenomenal. Thank Yamaha for everything they do in providing a great platform. And I think Graves Motorsports for the support that they provide, Woodcraft, and Superbikes Unlimited. I think that's about everybody.
So tell me about the Carbonin bodywork. I've heard that's a new brand that they're distributing now.
Carbonin has been around for several years. They have 2 types of bodywork. One is Avio fiber, which is very similar to you know, what you see, but the durability, the fit is incredible. The way that the bodywork actually fits onto the bike is almost perfection. It's almost like it came from the factory. They do some incredible stuff. Hustle Hard have a great program that supports racers, and they just provide phenomenal support, and the bodywork it really lasts. It crashes really well, which is unfortunate to say, because no one wants to talk about crashes, but it does. The Avio fiber is very easily repaired, and it's very, very strong. They also have a carbon fiber bodywork for the super bikes, which is also phenomenal.
That's probably pretty light being carbon fiber.
Yes, it is. It's very light, very strong, and as it says, as Carbonin's logo says, they are dangerously sexy. It is some dangerously sexy bodywork.
There you go. Seems to be like a trend with bodywork and like hot bodies, as you know, girls on their packages. You know.
I mean, you're going to talk about the body. You might as well make it look, make it
memorable.
Good. But they do. They're as I say, all of their pieces fit very, very nicely. It's the best bodywork that I've put on the bike, and having crashed as many times as I have, that's quite a few. I've had almost all different types of manufacturers, and this is by far the highest performing and the best that we've seen.
And would you say that you're on your preferred bike manufacturer at the moment, or would you rather switch to a different bike?
No, I've been riding Yamaha since actually I started out on a Kawasaki 600, but I've been riding the R1 since 2009, and I wouldn't swap it for any other bike.
You're brand loyal with them?
I wouldn't even say it's brand loyal, because I have other manufacturers' bikes. I would just say, when it comes to racing in this class, I wouldn't choose any other bike.
Okay, that's a fair answer.
I have it wouldn't be fair for me to say I'm brand loyal and then somebody sees me out on my, on my Aprilia or something like that, and it's like, oh well, so you said you were brand loyal. But when it comes to the racing in this class, this is the bike that I feel most comfortable on.
And then they're going to say, well, what kind of generator do you have? Right. Oh yeah, every application, it doesn't always have to be the same brand your motorcycle is. Like I had a Harbor Freight generator.
I do have a Yamaha generator. Just
well, there you go. They're way higher quality than Harbor Freight is.
And quieter.
Oh yeah. That's a big thing.
Those, that's Harbor Freight. As long as you have it with a 200-foot cord, there's nothing wrong with it. It does exactly the same job. But you want to keep it at a distance. So number one, you can get some sleep at night and still keep the air conditioning on. And number two, you don't annoy everybody else that's around you and give everyone a headache.
For sure. So are you sleeping in your trailer now, or are you sleeping in like a motorhome?
No, actually, I stay in a hotel. I'll get a hotel and then drive to the track in the morning.
That's the way to do it. That's the way to get the real rest, right?
It's hard enough going to sleep the night before practice or the night before a race. You just got everything going through your mind. Is everything safe? Did I do everything? How am I gonna ride tomorrow? So there's the apprehension, the excitement. So in a trailer, when you've got the sounds of the track around you and everything, or even in a motor hunt, I struggle to rest, and so being able to just go and be away from the track for a second, just to be able to get that relaxation and that peace of mind before, and to get myself right. It's just hard doing it in a confined environment such as a trailer or a motorhome, whereas a hotel, you can at least spread out.
That makes sense. So tell me about your 2021 plans. You're going to be hitting all the rounds this year?
Yes, we're going to be hitting all the rounds this year, starting in 2 weeks at Atlanta. The goal this year is to try to be as competitive as we possibly can, and start picking away at the top, in picking away into the top 10. That would be, I think that would be a realistic goal, and something to definitely strive for. Try to get on the same level as Jeffrey Perth or Walter Stipp or John Dunn. Some of those guys that are constantly battling for a top 10 place. I think that's got to be the goal for us this season. And who knows what can happen after that? You get a good start, or the bike feels really comfortable, and you don't know what you're capable of doing. But we'll start with small milestones, and when we start hitting those, then we can look a little bit further and dream a little bit bigger.
Very good. And I'm sure it's still doing some track days and maybe some amateur stuff for testing along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to give a big shout out to the track day organizers that I work for. There's two of them. The first one is 316 Track Days. They run an impeccable track day. If you read their reviews, the number of coaches to riders, the fact that they keep their track days to minimum participants, so the tracks are never crowded, the red flags, and the safety record is beyond reproach. And then the same goes for Sport Rider Coaching, which coaches out of Eagles Canyon, which is a absolute. I have a membership there. It's an absolute beautiful track. It was just resurfaced. It got resurfaced by the same people that did Barber, and it is a phenomenal facility. So if you ever get the opportunity to go out to that track, definitely hit up Jim Duggar and ask him to show you the way around with Sport Rider Coaching. They're two phenomenal organizations.
Very cool. All right, well, I'm going to wrap things up here. That's our hour mark. So thank you so much for coming on, talking with me on the EricSwanRacing.com podcast. I think it's number 51. and I'll get this edited and posted in a week or two, and I'll be sure to tag you in it.
I appreciate it, Eric. Thanks so much, buddy. You have a great rest of your weekend.
You too. Have fun at the track.
Cheers.
All
Bye-bye.
right, bye-bye.